Just why? Like, I've been driving for 3 days, we're almost there, and now this happens. Now that... In this video, I will attempt to travel 10 countries in just 3 days. There's no doubt this challenge will be extremely difficult.
The sleep deprivation is really kicking in.
But let me tell you how and why it needs to be done. Your time starts now. What? Come on, but I haven't even told them the rules yet. You can tell them if you want, but I am not gonna stop the clock. Sorry guys, I'll tell you the rules in the car. Let's go. Yeah, I know. Not enough time, but I just can't leave my camera here. Okay, let's talk about the rules for a second. Can you help me out with this one? Sure. Oh, that's why you're in a hurry. Rule 1, your home nation does not count as a country traveled. Fair enough. Rule 2, the whole journey must be made by land, so no airplanes. And finally, so that you would learn something about each and every place you visit. In every country, you have to see a beautiful sight and try some local cuisine. And if I break any of the rules or don't make it to all 10 countries, then I have to compose and perform a song for every mistake that I made. Wait, but isn't the whole point of a penalty to punish you, not the others? About 30 minutes into the drive, and at last, we made it to our first border. We have arrived in Latvia. 1 out of 10! Whee! Latvia is the middle one of the Baltic countries. It has a population of nearly 1.9 million, and most people come here to see the beautiful and historic capital, Riga. By the way, Latvia is also known to have the best beaches in the Baltics. We actually went there last year. And I just have to add that it's almost like saying that you have the best car in the whole junkyard. Well, the Baltic states just aren't world famous for their beaches. It was about a 2-hour drive from the border to our first stop. Alrighty, we have made it to Riga, and it's time to start ticking off boxes. And the first thing we're gonna focus on is food, because I'm just freaking starving. This place is called Lido, and last time I was here was probably 15 years ago, during a school trip. I felt a bit lost at first, but then remembered that ordering food shouldn't be that hard, and managed to get myself a proper meal. Okay, I thought I could walk you through the food myself, but with a Latvian wrap behind me, I think we'll just do a voiceover. I had borscht, a soup made out of red beet, meat and vegetables. And of course, some famous Latvian pancakes. One was the traditional one, made of potatoes, and it tasted a little like a deep-fried mashed potatoes. The other 2 were just regular pancakes with delicious fillings. I'm not sure if it was because I hadn't eaten today or Latvian food was just so good. It was brilliant. As a sight to see, I chose the mighty Daugava River. It runs through Riga, but sadly my preferred lookout place was closed and I had to improvise. I didn't think the time pressure would be so bad. Here it is. I admired the glory of this place for a good 25 seconds and then ran back to the car, as I was definitely parked illegally in someone's driveway. Come on, Joe, as Latvia's beautiful sight, you chose under a bridge. We are gonna let this one slide, but work harder next time. And now I guess it's about time to tell you how exactly am I planning to visit 10 countries in the next 3 days. So here's the plan. Okay, so the plan. In the next 3 days, I am gonna drive from Estonia in Northern Europe all the way to Greece in Southern Europe. Yes. Okay, go on, give us a few specifics, and for God's sake, use a correct map. Fine, but I don't have a paper map of Europe. But you just so happen to have a map of Iraq? Well, yeah, but this has to do with our next adventure. I can tell you more about it in the next video. But for now, let's change it up. Okay, more specifics. So on the first day, the goal is simple. I need to get to at least 3 countries and make as much kilometers as possible. By second morning, I hope to be in Central Europe. Over there, countries are much more closer together, and this will be the day where I actually get the numbers up. And then on a third day, it's again gonna be a lot of driving. The Balkans, and the scary thing over there is that it's not Schengen and EU countries, so the borders might take a lot of time. That's a long line of trucks. You should know that Google Maps says that this adventure, this road should be around 3,000 kilometers and should take around 36 hours. But these are highway speeds. Freyja cannot drive on highway speeds. And I also have to make 2 stops in each country plus petrol stops. So I'm now starting to think that maybe it was not such a good idea. So I'm afraid that the singing part might come true, and really it is not pretty. It's not pretty, guys. Nobody said it was easy. Well, but you said it would be this. Okay, that's clear. But why are we doing this weird challenge? Oh wait, I think we're closing in on the next country. We'll come back to this later. Lithuania! Whee! With around 2.8 million people, Lithuania is the biggest of the Baltic countries and is probably best known for its crazy love for basketball. My plan though was simple. First, to survive the relatively crazy traffic culture, and then to make the necessary stops as soon as possible. I pulled in a roadside diner. Yes. The ladies there were a bit disappointed to hear that I didn't speak Russian, but in body language, I still managed to order. We're gonna try something called a zeppelin. You might know the word, like flying big egg-like machines. And, well, there is a similarity here. Potato balls filled with meat, served with bacon and sour cream on side. Call me a simple man, but darn, I liked it. Just got some bad news. The sun is gonna set in pretty much an hour. Place I wanted to see here in Lithuania is gonna be way too dark when I get there. It's gonna take me 3 hours to get there, but the sun is going down in 1 hour. I had to choose another site to see, and sadly this one was about an hour off the chosen route. This is it. The Hill of Crosses. There's more than 100,000 crosses here, and people started putting them here in the 19th century. They don't know exactly, but it got popular after 2 uprisings against the Russian Empire. A lot of local Lithuanians died, and since their bodies were never found, their families brought crosses here. Although I'm not a religious man myself, then there's always something special about places like this. It's almost 5 o'clock. The sun is pretty much gone, but I still have a long drive ahead of me if I want to be on schedule to make the challenge happen. But I guess as it's the long drive, it's about time to tell you why I'm doing this. Okay, why would anyone in their rightful mind want to partake in such a crazy and hard challenge? And for me, there's actually two reasons. First, became obvious to me about 3 years ago. By that time, I had been traveling for 5 years, and whenever I said it to people, they would ask, how many countries have I visited? Back then, I had no answer to them. I had never counted them because I just didn't find it relevant. And yeah, then I started watching YouTube a little bit more, and I realized that many people find this number important.
In our 100th country.
I have just entered Saudi Arabia, my 197th and final country.
We visited more than 50 countries each. So on this adventure, I want to find out more about the positive and negative sides of fast travel and counting countries, and hopefully also understand the people a bit better who do it. And I guess the second reason is a fair bit more personal. So recently, there was a tragedy in my family involving an event where everybody wore black, and it's a hard truth to accept that due to my lifestyle, I haven't been able to be there for my family as much as I would have wanted to. It put me in a dark place. It's been like 2 months, and I've been reevaluating my life choices, even my own mortality. And I guess on this journey, I hope to find some time to be with myself again, and instead of analyzing the past, to once again start living in the present. Back to Lithuania. It took me a few hours of driving in the dark, and I crossed to Poland around 9 p.m. The most notable thing that night was probably a small breakdown on a Polish highway. My wheel cover had come loose, but I managed to fix it on a go. Yet, little did I know that this here was just a small symptom of a much bigger problem. 2 a.m. somewhere in a Polish gas station. Time to go to sleep.
You said, son, when you grow up you'll be fine. I know you've got questions on your mind. Life is gonna happen one way or the other, whether you like it or not. Stop looking for the answers and you'll find what you've got.
Poland is one of the biggest countries in Europe and well known for its farming and agriculture. Probably for this very reason, the drive itself was quite boring, with endless fields on both sides of the road. To break up the drive, I decided to make a quick stop. As a sight to see in Poland, I have chosen White Eagle Museum. It was a place full of World War II memorabilia. And I'll be completely honest with you, I'm actually not a huge fan of guns and war machinery, but I guess especially in the light of today's events, then it is important to every now and then remind ourselves what it means to have war. What are the consequences, and seeing those weapons, seeing the destruction, it hopefully just helps us avoid the same mistakes we've done over and over and over again. Then it was time for some local food. And of course, I chose pierogi, Polish dumplings. I sometimes wonder, how is it possible that so many different countries have dumplings as their national food, and then I taste one and I realize, yeah, that's why. With my belly full, it was again time to hit the road. I kept putting kilometers behind me, but I must admit that I felt a little empty. I had rushed through the museum and didn't even take time to enjoy my food. But before I could properly process this feeling, a new border. Finally, Czech Republic. Czech people are absolutely crazy about mushrooms. Like, they have so many dishes with mushrooms. All the cars on the side of the road, they're in the forest looking for mushrooms. More than this, they have a lot of castles, like all over the country. And of course, all over Europe, this place is known for its beer. Do you want to add something? No, I think you covered it. Castles, mushrooms and beer. As the plan was to visit 3 more countries that day, I was desperately looking for a place that qualifies as a beautiful sight. Well, that was fortunate. There's a castle on the side of the road. I'm quite embarrassed to say, but I didn't even bother to learn the name of this place. I tried to tell myself that maybe there's something magical about it. Almost like the moment when your eyes meet with a beautiful stranger on a busy street, yet you never get to learn her name. But even I didn't buy into that story. I made a quick stop at the supermarket, where I bought what Google says is the most famous Czech beer. As I'm with a car, I can't have the beer now, but I will have it in the evening after this crazy day. I arrived in Austria just before sunset. It's the land of beautiful mountains and classical music. And their favorite color is red. Okay, I'm not sure about that one, but they put it twice on their flag, so maybe. As the sun was setting, I had to move fast. And I am not super proud of what I did next. How is this for an activity, guys? I just found this amazing sunset point, like pretty cool. Hey Joe, what's the name of this sunset point? I don't know. Well, maybe you can look it up for us on the map so that everyone can enjoy this. Wait, what are you doing? Are you really trying to change the subject by doing the only one thing that you associate with Austria? I'm sorry guys, yes, he's waltzing. Yeah, it's actually not a famous sunset point. It's still pretty, still counts as an activity, right? I didn't expect to become so desperate by the end of this challenge, but well, Austrian food, there's only one option. And of course it's schnitzel. I think I've never seen a portion that big. I gave it everything I had and tried to finish my meal, but still ended up taking half of it with me. It's like taking a pizza home. Danke, guten Abend. When I left the restaurant, it was already pitch dark outside. The journey took me through the dark country roads, and I could only imagine how pretty those small historic towns would look during the day. Yet even now, this day was far from over. An hour before midnight, I made it to Slovakia, the 6th country on the list. Okay, it's Thursday night, around the time when proper people go to sleep, and I am gonna go and discover Bratislava. I felt a bit anxious going into a totally new city in the middle of the night, but what waited me there was the opposite of anxious. It was calm and beautiful. And now we're getting to the place that some call the most iconic landmark here in Bratislava. I'll show you. This statue is called Kumil and it means watcher. So it pictures a sewage worker who has stuck his head out of the manhole and he's just looking what's going on in the streets. I also tried to find a local dessert shop, but all the places were closed. And again, I had to settle for a 24-hour shop, another beer and pastry. I'm honestly just so positively surprised by this city. I want to come back here because now I have to run, but wow, Bratislava, wow. And again, in the middle of the night, we are driving. On those dark roads, I had a weird realization. It had been ages since I listened to music for the pure joy of it. It's funny how we sometimes just forget about the small things that used to make us happy. It was quite obvious that I needed this time alone to process the thoughts and feelings that had been building up.
It's 3 a.m. but we made it. Yesterday 1000 kilometers, today 900. I'll show you in the morning where we are. At the moment I'll just sleep time. Really don't want to wake up. The sleep was so nice. But I have to. I really have to.
I woke up in a car park near a famous Hungarian tourist mecca.
In my defense, I hadn't slept a lot last night when I decided to bring us here. So this is Balaton. It's Hungary's biggest lake. Last time I was here was 10 years ago in July. This place was full of life. Tens of thousands of people. I'm not joking. Tens of thousands. In November, this place is dead. Yep, for a good reason. Yep. That is cold.
Everything was closed and barred for probably next 6 months.
The only place that is open on the street is the one that sells alcohol and lottery, gambling.
I continued the journey with an empty stomach. It took about 3 more hours of driving on the rough Hungarian country roads until I finally found the place I was looking for.
So Longos is pretty much like a street food. It's a flatbread with stuff on there and it's delicious. It's very greasy, very filling, and cheese, cream, garlic, ham. Oh, wow, I love that thing. I'm gonna finish my Longos and then I won't be Hungary. No, I won't be in Hungary, I meant to say, because well, Serbia is just over there and we're gonna start driving.
Serbia was going to be the first country on the list that didn't have an open border. And well, it created a new problem. First indication was the long queue of trucks. And then I arrived at the end of my own line. It was going to be a long border, and time really wasn't on my side anymore.
It's been like 20 minutes and the sleep deprivation is really kicking in.
It took a little more than an hour to get through all the checks, and I had to hurry if I wanted to make it to the capital, Belgrade, before sunset. The weather kept getting worse by the minute.
I don't know where the rain came from.
And then, out of nowhere,
I heard like a banging noise from one of the front wheels. It was not a good sound.
there wasn't anything visibly broken. But after a bit of observation,
I think my shock absorbers are totally gone. Like whenever a truck passes me, it just... yeah, that's the sound, that's the banging.
yeah, at that point, I felt quite hopeless.
Why? Like, I've been driving for 3 days, we're almost there, and now this happens. Now that... I guess I have to change a few plans. Definitely not going to Belgrade. Gonna pick out the first town and see if there's a mechanic.
I guess in such moments, there's nothing else to do than to hope that it makes a good story.
I found the town that we're going to. It's a little bit ironic. It's called Novi Sad, which I think means new town. Feels like I'm stuck in the slow lane. Behind the truck is pretty pink. I hope that soon I will find a mechanic man who can lift my mood. I feels like I'm stuck in the slow lane.
I made it to Novi Sad around sunset.
Okay, I managed to find the guy. It's a mechanic, and he said that he can have a look at the car in about half an hour. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna do a quick tour. As things worked out like they did, the activity in Serbia is gonna be seeing the old town of Novi Sad. So, seeing the old town of New Town.
By the way, Novi Sad doesn't actually mean what I thought it did. But darn, I was so happy with my joke. It actually means new plantation. The rain gave this town a melancholic atmosphere. It was still pretty, but kind of matched my mood. During dinner, I realized that Serbian cuisine has many similarities to Turkish food. I had sevap, which are like small meat rolls served with kaymak, clotted cream.
I absolutely love Turkish food, and half of Serbian food matches Turks. So it's because of the Ottoman Empire and a lot of meals and the ways they're prepared, they're the same. Alrighty, now back to the real world.
At this point, I wasn't even sure what to wish for.
We got news. The shock absorbers are gone, and he said there's some sort of rods in there. It's pretty much broken as well. Yeah, it's Friday night, 5 o'clock, so he said there's no chance anybody is gonna work on this until Monday. There is one piece of good news, or like almost good news as well. And he said that as I've probably driven 1,000, 2,000 kilometers like this, then if I have a mechanic somewhere else, it's not gonna be end of the world if I just keep on driving like this. Yeah, and although all of this, it put me heck behind the schedule, I don't think I can make it. I got 2 more countries to do before 10 AM tomorrow morning. But at least I'm gonna try, instead of staying here for 3 days to wait for some mechanic. So again, let's drive.
It was no easy task driving through Serbia in such wet and dark conditions. But in a weird way, it even made me happy.
Does anyone know a better way to spend a Friday night than to drive through Serbia?
Thanks to all the excitement in the last few hours, I had lost all my sleep. It was me, the road, and the present moment. Don't get me wrong, I still took a lot of breaks and did everything in my power to make this night drive as safe as possible. But even with the regular breaks, by 12, I was in North Macedonia.
It's midnight and I'm in downtown Skopje, the capital city.
It was Friday night. The streets were busy and echoed of live music. It was strange. Something about that city felt familiar. The streets, architecture, and churches standing next to mosques. And then it clicked.
Skopje kind of feels like a small Istanbul.
Even bigger was my surprise when I went to the last open food place and managed to order my food in Turkish.
Harika, iyi akşamlar.
It was familiar and delicious. And after that, started the last leg of the adventure. Driving to North Macedonia. And truthfully, it was the first time I felt sad on that journey. Out of the 10 countries on the list, it was the only one I hadn't visited before. And I felt that I was missing out. On the map, I saw mountains and winding roads. Yet from the window, there was nothing but darkness. A little too well, it reminded me why I never focused on counting countries. In relationship terms, I would call it a one-night stand. Yes, it goes down as a number in the books. But in reality, I got nothing meaningful out of that experience. I arrived in Greece few hours before dawn, then stopped at the gas station, where Maria warmed up a lovely local pastry for me.
Spinach and cheese pastry.
So that of course I could tick off the box for Greek food. I guess it took about 2 more hours of driving, but eventually I made it to the final destination, to see the last beautiful sight.
Well, and the last activity here in Greece is watching the sun rise over the view of Ionian Sea. I can't believe that it was possible. 10 countries in 3 days. I'll be right back. Okay, that swim was great. I think it gave me like an extra hour before I totally passed out. But anyways, it's awesome to see you here at the end of this video. And I quickly wanted to share the lessons that this journey taught me. And let's start with the positives. So first off, I have to say that I absolutely loved the third rule. It made me go out of my way to try new foods, to find beautiful places and to connect with the countries I was, even just a little bit. I also enjoyed the time I had with myself. Clearly there was a lot of things and feelings I hadn't processed, and it was much needed. I haven't felt so present in a moment in a long time, I guess. But there was also things that I just didn't like. I didn't get to connect with any locals. I had to go, and there was no human connection, and I think that's a huge part of traveling that I was missing out. And it's a huge problem with fast travel, that you don't have the time to build those connections. And also, like, the countries itself, it was a little too superficial for my taste. Most of the time I just felt like I wanted more. It was not enough. And I guess that's the biggest problem with counting countries. I was only focusing on numbers and was missing out on many other experiences. Yes, I traveled 10 countries in 3 days, but was it worth it? I kind of thought like maybe this video should have been called How Not to Travel. Because going like this, maybe one could visit 50 countries in a month, but what's the point? And in some ways, I feel like traveling is like building a relationship. It takes a day to see how a place looks. Maybe a week or two to know its taste and tiny bit of its culture, but if you really want to understand and know a location, or maybe even call it a second home, then it can take months, if not years. And for this very reason, just like in relationships, I don't think we should focus on the number. It is much more about the connection and what you've learned from this place. Yeah. And if you are now saying that you don't have the time and will to build something big, then don't worry. You can always go with the traveling equivalent of an escort. High price, low effort. Yes, I'm talking to you all-inclusive resorts. So anyways, I should stop myself before I say anything even more stupid. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the journey, and I hope to see you on the channel soon. Bye and good night.